Thank you for tuning in to the Guys with Their Rides podcast. My name is Rudy Samsel, and I am the co-founder of Guys with Rides, the only dealer-free community and marketplace for car enthusiasts like you and me. Unfortunately, our recent heat wave and scheduling conflicts conspired to prevent my planned guests from being here this week in time for me to tape. We're in the process of rescheduling, and I hope to have them on in a future episode. If you live in the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania tri-state area and own a classic car or collection and with an interesting story and want to be on a podcast, I encourage you to reach out. You can click the link in the description below, or you can call me directly. Love to talk to you. In lieu of a guest this week, I'm going to uncover 3 secrets of the classic car auction world not many people know about. The first is Mecum's revolving inventory policy on many auctions they offer. The second is Bring a Trailer's actual sell-through rate when you factor out the growing number of no reserve auctions on that site. And the third is the proliferation of dealers on many of these websites now. So let's get started. In the traditional in-person, or what I like to call TV auction space, over the past couple of years, Mecum has actually surpassed Barrett-Jackson as the leader. For 2024, Mecum has 12 vehicle-focused events with a total of 18,000 lots that will cross their various auction blocks across the country. Year to date, Mecum completed half of those auctions with 10,600 lots crossing the block. With just over 100,000 collector car auction lots offered in 2023. That suggests that about 1 in 10 cross the Mecum auction block. How is that possible month after month, nearly every month of the year? I'll let you in on a little secret. Mecum re-offers many lots at each of their events. I came across this phenomenon last year while using one of my preferred pricing websites known as classic.com. Not only do they provide results from a variety of traditional auctions, online venues, including mine, but they also now track VIN number wherever possible. So when you see the results of a particular car on their scatter plots, you can actually click on it, on the VIN number, and then look and see the car's history, at least from an auction standpoint. While the vast majority of cars that cross the Mecum auction block are fresh listings, if you will, they rely on a fair amount to fill up these venues with the advertised amounts they have posted on their website for each event. My most recent example of this was researching the 1995 Chevrolet Monte Carlo I currently have listed on my website's Buy Now, Make an Offer page. When I was researching past results for similar examples, I came across one that was recently offered on Mecum. Clicking on the VIN number for that offering on Classic.com revealed that Mecum has offered that car 7 times. That's right, 7 times in the past 2 years. Pulling a Carfax on that very car revealed that the car has not changed hands from a title standpoint during that period. So what exactly is happening? My sources confirm that Mecum uses this practice to keep their dockets filled at the various events. Unclear is whether Mecum holds the title or if these are consignment offerings that the owner continues to hold on to. Granted, this doesn't happen with every lot Mecum offers, but it does happen with enough frequency that potential buyers need to be aware of that fact. What's interesting is if you read any Mecum press release, their press releases typically mention the total lots offered, the dollar volume of those sales, and some of the highlights of specific models that may have hit records. They never mention sell-through rate. My recommendation is if you're going to go to a Mecum auction and you have a particular vehicle you're planning to bid on, do your homework. Use Classic.com, verify whether it's being offered for the first time or if it's one of these revolving inventory lots. Chances are, if it's a revolving inventory car, you may want to ride out the auction, and then when it's placed in their after-auction, quote-unquote, the bid goes on place, that would be the time to negotiate an offer and use the leverage of knowing that the car has been offered a number of times to try and get the best deal possible. Bring a Trailer is the darling of the online auction industry. Bring a Trailer long ago replaced eBay Motors as the de facto classic and collector car auction site. My analysis this morning confirmed they're currently averaging around 140 lots per day, 7 days a week. If you add that up, they're on track to reach 4,000 auctions per month. If you're like me and you subscribe to their daily email, you also receive a monthly synopsis of their auction results for the prior month. For example, in the May 2024 synopsis, Bring a Trailer is quoted as saying, our sales rate for the month was 80% across 3,867 listings, including 1,711 that were offered without a reserve. If you're not familiar with that term, a no-reserve auction is when a seller agrees to offer their car at auction without a minimum price. Consequently, the bidder with the highest bid at the end of a no-reserve auction becomes the new owner of the car. Listing a classic or collector car at no reserve can be a strategic decision that has its pros and cons. So first, the pros. If you need to sell a car quickly, a no-reserve auction may be your best bet, as you know the car will be sold at the end of the auction. Additionally, no-reserve auctions tend to attract more bidders motivated by the potential to get a great deal, which tends to increase competition. No-reserve auctions can also be a true market value determiner. Since the car will sell at the end of a no-reserve auction, that tends to be a good indicator of the market, provided there are adequate bidders. And third, a no-reserve auction has the potential for higher bids. Some argue the excitement of a no-reserve auction can lead to higher bids than expected. Potential buyers may be more willing to place a bid in a no-reserve auction without the barrier of a reserve price. That tends to encourage more bidding activity early in the auction. And while a no-reserve auction has several advantages, there are cons to it. The number one con with a no-reserve auction is the risk it will sell for far below what the true market value is. That risk can fluctuate depending on the day and the time the classic car is offered. That's true whether it's an online auction or a traditional in-person venue. While the risk is lower for long-term owners, because generally prices have increased if they've owned the car more than 4 or 5 years, sellers who've only owned the car a couple of years, particularly if they bought at the high point of the pandemic in 20 or 21, are apt to lose money on their investment. If you're risk averse, the problem with a no-reserve auction is that the price is unpredictable. You don't know if it's going to hit its true market value or if it's going to come in much less. I currently do not recommend no-reserve auctions unless you have to sell the car and you're willing to accept anything right now. We're in a market slowdown and buyers are looking for deals. The third con to a no-reserve auction is emotional value and regret. Sellers with a strong emotional attachment to their classic car may find it hard to accept a lower price than they expected. Consequently, sellers may experience regret if their classic car sells for far less than what their perceived or even their market value is for that particular ride. And the fourth con is marketing and timing. As I mentioned earlier, if a no-reserve auction is not properly promoted or is poorly timed, the car may not reach a wide audience, of course, resulting in a lower final bid. Other similar no-reserve auctions happening at the same time may dilute the amount of bidders willing to pay similar prices. Looking back from 20 to 22, the collector and classic car auction space saw tremendous growth. During that time, most sellers had little risk of offering their car at no reserve because chances were good they would find a buyer willing to pay strong money for their classic car. However, the only constant is change, and the classic and collector car market is no different. After the go-go years between 20 and 22, we saw 2023 be a year of stabilization. Why am I bringing this up? As I mentioned earlier, when looking at auctions, the key metric many people look at is the auction's sell-through rate. And that's simply the number of lots sold over the total number of lots offered for a given auction. For the first 5 months of 2024, Bring a Trailer averaged 79% sell-through rate. However, as I mentioned, Bring a Trailer includes their no reserve auctions in that statistic. I don't believe in adding in your no reserve auction rate because it's a guaranteed sale. So that artificially inflates it. Let's take a look at that. Not only is Bring a Trailer including their no reserve auctions, but that auction site in particular continues to pressure sellers into opting for no reserve auctions. Specifically, over the past 2.5 years, Bring a Trailer increased their no reserve auction percentage from 28 to the current level of 44%. When you strip out no reserve auctions from Bring a Trailer's total auctions offered, the effective sell-through rate declined from 68 to 45% during that time. Let me repeat that. When you strip out the fact that 44% of Bring a Trailer's auctions are now no reserve, the true sell-through rate for their reserve auctions is 45%. The blue line in the graph shows the trend in the increase in no reserve auctions on Bring a Trailer over the past 2.5 years. It also confirms that Bring a Trailer continues to pressure sellers into opting for agreeing to a no reserve auction under the guise that, hey, we're Bring a Trailer, we'll get you the most money for your car. Unfortunately, many sellers get lured by this pitch out of fear that Bring a Trailer won't accept their car for an auction. Even more disappointing is that I think if you were able to interview many sellers on Bring a Trailer that used a no reserve auction these days, many are not happy with the outcome. Sadly, over the past year, I've had no fewer than 6 people confide in me confidentially that either they or friends of theirs bid on their behalf on their own car and then paid Bring a Trailer's 5% fee so that they, quote, weren't giving the car away. The common theme of these sellers was, I'd rather pay the Bring a Trailer fee than to give the vehicle away. So if you decide to put your car on Bring a Trailer, my recommendation is to do your homework. Be realistic about the condition of your car and do a comparison of other recent sales and have that knowledge before you start negotiating what the reserve price should be for your car on Bring a Trailer, and do not let them pressure you into a no reserve auction unless you have something very rare that there is high demand for. In this podcast description, I will place a link to my What's My Ride Worth? And I go through how to assess the condition of your car, as well as the online resources that you can use to come up with a realistic price for your classic car. 5 years ago, I set out to create Guys with Rides as a dealer-free oasis for everyday classic and collector car enthusiasts. As the market continues to reach a saturation point, I stand by that decision, even though the market is getting harder and fewer quality rides are being offered by private sellers at the moment. As I benchmark some of my smaller competitors, I noticed that they are struggling to get inventory from private sellers. Those that are still offering auctions on a daily basis are often 90% or greater in terms of the amount of dealer listings versus private party listings. To Bring a Trailer's credit, they continue to track at about a 35% dealer to 65% private party ratio. They're able to do that while adding capacity. Cars and Bids auctions about 30 cars a day. And my analysis earlier this morning revealed that 80% of those cars are in fact private party lists. Perhaps you've seen it if you're on social media, you've probably noted that Cars and Bids is actively promoting to dealers to start offering their cars at auction on Cars and Bids. I think the situation there is, now they're owned by private equity, and they have to meet growth targets, and they're probably not doing it. They've been around 24 to 30 cars a day for a long time, and I think they're, as I alluded to earlier, with fewer private sellers offering cars, I think they're hitting a wall in terms of the number of private party sellers they can get on their website. It doesn't help that they really push no reserve auctions on there, and as the industry stabilizes, that probably scares off a number of private parties. Hemmings is another notable exception. They're currently averaging about 12 cars per day. And my analysis revealed that only about 20% of the cars they are offering are dealer supplied. Why do I bring this up? Well, earlier this week, Hagerty Media released a blog post titled, "Are Dealers Invading the Online Auction Space?" Talk about the fox in the henhouse. Here's the thing about Hagerty. Over the past few years, Hagerty went public, and they've been quietly acquiring automotive-related businesses, brands you may be aware of and don't even realize that they're a part of. But even more disturbing is they've started their own online marketplace. But what was once a sleepy family-owned insurance company now is in the auction game themselves. So I find it fascinating that they're talking about how dealers are infiltrating the online auction space. Why do I bring this up? Well, there's usually a huge difference between a private party offering their ride in an auction versus a dealer. While a private party wants to maximize whatever money they can get for their car, a dealer is in business to make money. In this era of many venues chasing too few cars, most dealers don't have a history for the cars they're offering. So often a dealer purchased classic car, the history is lost. The other thing you have to remember is if you're bidding on a dealer lot, there's a good chance you're bidding against other dealers. It's not a level playing field. And in those circumstances, a dealer is willing to bid higher because they are going to resell the car at retail. And so they can bid the car up higher. You want to remember that when you're in the heat of the moment, particularly on all these other sites that have a 2-minute rule in effect, because FOMO will take over. What's FOMO? Fear of missing out. If you get caught up in the moment and you've bid, FOMO or the endowment effect take over your psyche and force you to bid higher than you really wanted to. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at all these other sites. It's not a level playing field, so have a reasonable idea of who you might be bidding against. Know the limit you want to pay for a particular car and only bid up to that amount and no higher. Anyway, those are my secrets revealed this week. I appreciate you watching this podcast. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at rudy@guyswithrides.com. Or better yet, you can even call me at 877-468-6497. Love to hear from you. So thank you for watching. If you haven't done so, I encourage you to check out the guyswithrides.com website, as well as the other videos on this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.